All right, we have massive news. We have surprising news as, not only Josh McDaniels, but also general manager David Ziegler of the Raiders are out, fired in a weird time. I don't know if I've ever seen someone get fired at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern time on technically a Wednesday if you're on the East Coast. For the West Coast, the Raiders obviously play in Nevada, so it's not quite as late for them. It was about 10 there, but still a weird time for this move to be made. I'm assuming what happened was they wanted to keep them on for the trade deadline and then make the move after, I guess, or maybe they were disappointed that the Raiders couldn't make a move happen, and that's why they were both let go. Very odd timing in this scenario. It's Antonio Pierce. He's the guy who's going to be the new head coach for the Raiders, and he's actually an interesting figure. So he played in the NFL for 9 seasons, and he's only been a coach since 2022. So this is his second year as a coach. He's been a linebackers coach, and now they're promoting him all the way to head coach. So there's something they like about Antonio Pierce, which is interesting. I'm sure Raiders fans are thinking about the Rich Bisaccia year and how that was the one year they made the playoffs. I guess they made the playoffs more than once, but that's the most recent year they've made the playoffs. So it's interesting how that's gonna work for the Raiders. Champ Kelly, he's going to be the new interim general manager. So again, both are considered interim general manager and head coach. No one has been given the official. They are the new label. It's just working there. So Champ Kelly was the assistant general manager for the Raiders, so it makes sense that he's gonna take that lead. Antonio Pierce, a bit of a surprise that you're having someone who, again, has very little coaching experience be the guy. I do think about Mike Vrabel, who you could argue was in a very similar situation. He was also a former NFL player, came into the league, quickly got promoted to defensive coordinator. The defense was terrible, but after 1 year, he still got a head coaching job, right? So sometimes people value personalities more so than coaching experience, and I think that might be what they're doing here. But again, the bigger story is, of course, the Josh McDaniels. I mean, there's no getting around it. This was a disaster by Josh McDaniels, and he finally got his second opportunity as it went horrible in Denver, but he had done so many good things as an offensive coordinator for New England, coming off of maybe not his best year, but a really important year in his career, making the offense look good with Mac Jones in his last year in New England. You have to wonder if he's just going to go back there. I would assume that he would. I assume that he would just go back to New England at this point because, we know Belichick loves to hire his guys, right? That's kind of a big thing he does. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if that's what they end up doing right here. And clearly the Patriots need him at this point. And he is a good offensive coordinator, I think. But again, you think about, these guys didn't just completely change the team, or they didn't just struggle with the team, right? They completely made this a different roster. I mean, what this looks like from 2 years ago is just it's a completely different scenario. They obviously made the trade for Davante Adams. They added Jacoby Myers. They added Jimmy Garoppolo. A lot of different. That's the big one, right? Getting rid of Carr, adding Garoppolo. That's the big story here. Big situation that they did that now they're going to have to suffer the consequences from, or maybe it's not the end of the world. Maybe they can still build in the future. But it was a lot of people were confused as to what exactly the plan was this past offseason. It felt like they were shooting for an 8-9 record, and that's kind of where they ended up being. And I think that again, Mark Davis kind of just said, you know what, this isn't working. Let's move on. And I think it's the right call. It feels like, it wasn't working. It wasn't working for Josh McDaniels. The only thing that I think maybe a lot of people thought maybe he wouldn't get fired right away was because of just Mark Davis isn't rich by NFL owner standards. Does he want to pay another coach? Well, fire someone now, usually you're not going to just throw more money at the interim head coach. You're just the interim head coach. Get that on your resume for a bit. So we'll see what they do, but this is probably a step in the right direction for the Las Vegas Raiders here. So yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours on this scenario? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.